Once upon a time, the most powerful man in the world, known as Marcus Aurelius, sought to live virtuously. Unlike many Roman emperors, he did not indulge in the various pleasures to which he had access, such as getting drunk on wine and watching cruel games in the Colosseum. Marcus Aurelius was determined to fulfill the mission that destiny reserved for him, which was to serve humanity. Therefore, he was deeply committed to fulfilling that purpose. However, in order to do so, he needed to let go of things that were not worth valuing, and, we can say, there are many such things. One of the fundamental concepts of Stoicism is the division between what we control and what we do not control, as explained in Epictetus' manual. Most, if not all things, except our own actions, are out of our control. This means that we must renounce the world, not necessarily in the literal sense, but the Stoics believe that we should be realistic about our limited influence over these things. If we don't, when life hurts us, it's often because we worry about things we can't control, thus allowing those things to control and manipulate us like puppets. So we blame puppeteers for pulling our strings when, in fact, we allow them to do so. But if we stop caring about these things, they will lose their power over us, and we will be at peace. For Marcus Aurelius, not being troubled by things outside his control allowed him to face the numerous responsibilities and challenges of being emperor, focusing on the task he believed was assigned by the gods. For Epictetus, this meant freedom, allowing other people to be unaffected by outside forces. It could be a way to focus on goals that really matter, or simply a path to a happy, carefree life for others. When life becomes painful, we must ask ourselves what things to stop worrying about and how to do that. This video is an exploration and free interpretation of Marcus Aurelius' philosophy on how to care less about things that do not deserve to be valued, as he expressed in his meditations. Marcus Aurelius often distinguished between the present, the past, and the future in his reflections. The ancient Roman emperor offers valuable insights into how we often worry excessively about these dimensions of life, or do so inappropriately, or worry about things that do not deserve our attention. For clarity and structure, we'll start with a look into the future. As Seneca stated, we often suffer more in our imagination than in reality. Our thoughts about the future are often the source of our suffering. When it comes to the future, our imagination tends to wildly invent countless scenarios that will probably never come to fruition. We anticipate events and think about how to deal with possible outcomes, while being anxious about the uncertainty of what will happen in our lives. In some cases, reality can match our expectations, but in many others, fate surprises us with unpredictable events, both positive and negative. For example, we can spend years preparing for a peaceful retirement, only to face a terminal illness that gives us just a few months to live. Concern about these adverse outcomes is understandable, but is it wise to worry about them in advance, as we do on a daily basis? As long as these events are not occurring in the present, we cannot deal with them, as they exist only in our thoughts. The future distresses us mainly because we think about it. It does not exist outside our minds. So, if you're facing a situation like a terminal cancer diagnosis, what's stopping you from living for today and enjoying every second of your valuable life? Stand up and hold your head high, no matter what is going on in your life, whether it's something small or extraordinary. Wear your best clothes and sneakers and go live moments that will be remembered by you, even after death. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is not the weight of the future that presses us, but the present. It is not the future that harms us, but how we deal with it in the present. The misery of the future occurs in the present, and ironically the future is not unfolding in the present, because when we encounter it, it is already present. When we worry too much about future events, life eventually starts to hurt as we suffer in our imaginations, allowing them to dictate our present. So what did Marcus Aurelius mean by worrying too much about the future? First, let's consider the following quote: "Never let the future trouble you. You will meet it, if necessary, with the same weapons of reason that you use today." Against the present. He pointed out that if he could handle the present, he could also handle the future. He told himself not to imagine everything terrible that could happen, but to deal with the situation he was living in the present. When you focused on the present, did you realize that you could handle it, And if so, why wouldn't you be able to handle what was yet to come? This attitude is similar to the idea of amor fati, the love of fate, but fortified with the confidence that we are capable of passing through this. In the past, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of how existence passes quickly and disappears into the infinite beyond our reach. The past, like the future, is a domain in which we cannot operate. What is past, and unless we invent a time machine we cannot change anything about it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Remember that man lives only in the present, in this fleeting instant, all the rest of his life is past and gone, or not yet revealed. Therefore man's life is short, and the space in which he dwells on earth is narrow." Despite the limitation of our lives, which is restricted to the present, we often find ourselves excessively absorbed in areas that are beyond this current moment, that is, the future and the past. Marcus Aurelius stated that the past lacks meaning and is indifferent in the present. This doesn't mean that past events don't influence the present or that we can't learn from them. It is simply that we cannot control the past, as it is out of our control, and often our memories of the past are fuzzy, making it difficult to determine exactly what happened. We rely on subjective memories and different perspectives. So not only is the past inaccessible, but our memory of it is also highly susceptible to inaccuracies. However, we continue to worry about past events, often reliving the pain they caused us. Some believe that by thinking about the past they can exert some control over it, but this is an illusion. The past is gone, and all we can try to control are our thoughts about something that's gone and will never come back. Many people wish they could have acted differently, but these wishes are fruitless, as they evoke wishes that cannot be fulfilled. Rather than focusing on past events themselves, Marcus Aurelius focused on his reaction to them. We cannot control past events, and we probably couldn't have controlled them when they occurred either. However, we can control our attitude towards these events. Initially, we may consider the past as a misfortune, perhaps we faced a difficult childhood or experiences of failed friendships and business ventures. But according to Marcus Aurelius, the exact nature of these events is not as important as how we deal with them. He stated that what happened is not a matter of fortune or misfortune, but rather how we stand and react to it. The same event could have happened to anyone, but not everyone would have been able to handle it the same way. Instead of labeling the past as misfortune, he suggests that we might consider it as fortune. We may question whether something that does not violate human nature can be called misfortune, and whether something that is not against nature's will can really violate it. What happened in the past should not impede our just, generous, self-controlled, sensible, honest, humble and frank actions. These are qualities that allow a person's nature to come true. Interestingly, Marcus Aurelius does not dismiss the value of the past altogether. He believes that by observing the repetitive pattern of events that occur and unfold, we can extrapolate into the future. However, he emphasizes that the present moment is all we really have access to, and it is a narrow field. We can look into the vast abyss of the past and the impenetrable darkness of the future from the present. Marcus Aurelius encourages concentration on what is under our control, that is, the present moment. Even when we let go of the past and reduce our worries about the future, we can still be very distressed about things that don't deserve so much concern, that is, situations that occur exactly in the present moment. We are often dissatisfied with the way life is unfolding at the current moment, and when things don't go our way, we tend to become irritable, sad, or depressed. However, according to Marcus Aurelius, allowing these emotions to overwhelm us is pointless, as we have no control over how the world around us unfolds. What is in our hands is how we react to these situations. So he reminds us that our emotional turmoil about the present is often caused by our resistance to what is happening or the lack of what we want to happen. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that we should not resist what we are compelled to accomplish. He made an analogy between those who oppose the present and pigs debating and crying out when they are being sacrificed. This is useless, as we cannot avoid or predict what the future holds. Nor can we prevent people from engaging in armed conflict, prevent natural disasters, halt aging, or force the world to do our bidding. There is no guarantee that those we are attracted to share the same feelings, nor that everyone has the same opportunities in life. All of this is simply not within our reach. We often feel angry about not getting what we want and sad about encountering what we don't appreciate. This turns the present into a source of suffering, at the mercy of the future. On the other hand, when we are completely immersed in our surroundings, we often neglect what we can truly control, our choices, actions and opinions. Marcus Aurelius saw the law of nature as our teacher, and if we turn away from it or react with sadness and anger, we are just deserters and fugitives. We must accept nature's ways, embrace them, and focus on dealing with them, rather than wasting energy on discontent or attachment to our circumstances. One way to embrace the present, as he wrote in his 7th book of Meditations, is to focus on what we have, not what we lack. However, we must treat with care what we do not have, regarding it as non-existent. We look at the things we value most and reflect on how much we would want them if we didn't have them. However, we must avoid overestimating them to the point where we would be disappointed if we lost them. Accepting circumstances can be challenging, especially when we face great difficulties. For Marcus Aurelius, adversity and problems are not excuses for misbehaving, but opportunities to practice virtue and apply philosophy to our lives. The art of living is not based on how extraordinary or favorable our external circumstances are, as these are unstable, fragile, and inconstant. It focuses on how we face the events we encounter along the way, and that's what really matters. Therefore, it is essential to do your best to live the present in the best possible way, regardless of your physical, emotional, or financial situation. Start making changes where you have control and don't get distracted by others, the future, or the past. Focus on what's in front of you and just get started. Remember that your motivation may wane at some point, but persist and maintain consistency in everything you do. Thank you for watching the video until the end, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if the content was valuable to you. Until the next video.